collaborative project from brought to you by Drummer Studios and Layers. In this segment, we try to use the series to kind of communicate about the present time, find out what's going on in the culture right now, just touch creatives and try to get the deeper meaning behind their work, and bring that to the audience and to people like worldwide to hopefully inspire them and to hopefully give them like a better look as to some of the creatives that they maybe follow, just to get to know them a bit better. So we're kind of bringing creatives to, I don't know, I guess to fans, or bringing them to the mainstream, to the public, so to speak. So it's good to get you on. So what I'm gonna ask you is tell people a little bit about yourself. So how did you get into writing? What do you do? Well, obviously your name. I'll let you introduce yourself.
So my name, birth name.
Yeah. What's your birth name?
It's Efe.
What's your writer name?
My writer name. I'm called the writer.
Okay, yeah. And the way another thing I find interesting is the way you've stylized it and stuff and it kind of rhymes. So for those who don't know, I'm gonna put his Instagram handle below. It's really interesting how it rhymes. How did you come up with that?
Obviously the writer. It's just what it is. I'm a writer, so I thought I'll call myself a writer.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But when I went on Instagram, the writer spelt the right way.
Yeah.
Was taken.
Right. So you had to get creative without you kind of,
And I thought, with Tumblr coming out and Flickr.
Yeah, as well.
Which I love both sites, by the way, Tumblr and Flickr.
Yeah.
Gave me like an idea to write it that way.
So was it like original idea, or was it something inspired it?
Yeah, I would say obviously the fact that I couldn't get the writer spelt in a normal way. That made me get creative.
Okay.
And the inspiration came from those two websites, Flickr and Tumblr, the way they do the LR at the end.
Right, of course, yeah.
So that's why you see the TR.
The TR, instead of ER. Yeah, of course, yeah. Okay. So, know your name, so what do you do then? Like, to someone that doesn't know you, how would you say, like you said, to the mainstream, how would you introduce yourself? Like, if you're at an event and someone asks you what do you do, what would you say? Because you came in earlier and introduced yourself.
I'm a writer.
And that's it?
And that's it. I write poetry, first and foremost. I write short stories. I'm a tech freak, like gadgets and new stuff that comes out.
Yeah.
The future thinking world or whatever. AI and the augmented reality. I love all that stuff. So I write about that as well. I write a few articles for a few tech publications.
Okay,
so I mix my writing in that. I also write songs. I'm also a songwriter. So I think with writing you're pretty much that.
Different
lanes.
lanes.
You're a writer, you can write anything.
You can write anything, yeah. I'm going to ask you something else regarding that. I'm going to try to, essentially, I won't ask you now, but I'll ask you later on.
Okay.
About where else you might take your writing to, or if you have ideas of where you're going to take it to, but I'll save that till later on. So how did you get into writing?
Tricky. It was a long way around to get there, really. I would say I started taking writing very seriously.
Yeah.
Only about 3 years ago. As in, seriously in the sense of this is what I want to do.
Okay,
this is what I want to focus all my energies on.
Yeah.
The most anyway, most of my time and energy, I want to focus into writing. That happened only about 3 years ago.
Okay.
But I've been writing forever, really.
Yeah, I mean, everyone who went to school, you have to write.
You have to write. I know, but as in
like
writing intensively, like wanting to writing poems, writing songs, and things like that. So my first article I wrote was for a church newsletter.
Okay.
And basically I was 8 years old.
When you wrote that?
I was 8 years old when I wrote my first article for a church newsletter.
That's interesting.
So, yeah, it kind of went from there. My sisters love to sing, my mother loves to sing, so I love to sing, you know, and my sisters also, you know, they write songs. When I was younger, they used to get together and say, oh, what are you doing? We're composing, things like that, and I was intrigued by that, and, you know, it fascinated me, so I always loved words, language in general.
Okay, yeah.
You know.
So that's how you got into it. So you wrote your first sort of article, you said, at, you know, when you was 8. And what was that based on? You know, what did you base it on? Do you remember?
Well, I don't remember much of it. I think my mum might have the newsletter still somewhere in the archive, but I'm not sure. If it was a church newsletter, then it's something probably to do with Sunday school story or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And what did you study? Did you know?
At university?
Yeah, university. Yeah.
I studied aerospace engineering at first.
Yeah.
And then I dropped out of that and went into project management for architecture.
Ah, okay. That's interesting, because that's not necessarily linked to what you're now focusing on. You said you started to focus on this like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Started to focus on it and you know, make it essentially your occupation, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so what inspires your current writing?
Everything. Everything. I when it comes to the poetry and the short stories, I focus more, or I base my work around concepts to do with love and romance.
Ah, okay, yeah.
You know, now and again I might write something to do with philosophy, thought I have, something political, but mostly I write purely about love, relationships in today's world, or the digital age, and romance. I'm trying to bring that back. You know?
Yeah, that's interesting, because there's a lot of you know, kind of doing research before, you know, this, like, you know, you sit down and stuff. I saw like there was, you know, you wrote about politics as well, you know, which is a big part of, you know, current dynamics right now in the world. There's that element of vulnerability as well, and there's that kind of what's the other word I was looking for? Gotta make sure I find it. So identity. You know, like, yeah, there's that. You know, from a lot of the readings I was reading, I was like, there's that sense of like, you know, who you are, that kind of empowering element to it. I don't know, I guess my question is, you know, identity, what does that mean to you? How do you identify yourself?
Black British from a Nigerian background.
Okay, and what does culture mean to you?
A lot. It means a lot to me. It means everything to me. It's about standing for something. It's about a belief in something and solidarity around that thing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. That's what culture means to me. You know, when you believe in something, or when a group of people believe in a cause, I feel anything can be achieved. Take hip hop, for example. It's a culture in a sense. It's like a subculture.
It's a subculture. Yeah. It's like kind of underneath the main culture.
Yeah.
It's like a part. Yeah. Well, it's a part of the culture. So yeah.
Well, I think it took the belief of the people who started the grassroots hip hop movement. You know, took the belief on their part, as well as, you know, the public believing in the idea as well.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how a cult or culture comes out. You know, and it's formed. And I think culture is definitely important.
Right now, okay. So I agree. I'm also gonna quickly, you know, try and ask you about, you know, in this age it appears that people are reading less, and I can't speak for everyone. I guess, you know, sometimes there's that thing of kind of
agree.
like,
I agree.
yeah. But you know, it would appear that way. And that's something that that's come across on social media. People talking about it, just in discussion generally. People are saying, "Oh, yeah, people don't read that much anymore." I was listening to this magazine segment that that this quite I won't say they're quite popular, but I like their work anyway. I don't want to mention it right now, but I was listening to like a segment that they do on their platform, right? And they were talking about the kind of the death of blogs and the death of blogging, if that makes sense.
Okay.
In your own opinion, why do you think people are reading less right now?
Speed of information overload.
Okay.
I'm not sure how old you are or how far you've come with the phone technology, but in our time, when I say our time, when I was in college, university and stuff, college was Nokia phones.
Yeah, so pretty much for 310.
Yeah,
that was it.
We would say our generation probably kicked off the text messaging revolution. The LOL language and all of that.
Yeah,
that's probably us, and that's how far it went. But with the smartphone, it changed everything, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Messages come in like that, and things are more visual as well. People they want to see things rather than read them. If I can have a picture of something, then I don't really want to read about it. Just show. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Show me the thing. And there's so much information overload. Videos, photography, text messaging, and it's constant. With all these platforms, Snapchat, WhatsApp, the lot.
Yeah.
So it's like, and it's relentless. The stream of text messages that come into their phones, it's a lot. So time is shorter.
So we were speaking about, why are we reading less? And also you mentioned, like we're in an age where social media, obviously that's one thing, but you mentioned smartphones, the old, people want to kind of see things now. It's more kind of like a visual imagery. That's what people are working with now, as opposed to like text. Like that's the new language in a way. Like pictures like the new language. Like who's got the coolest shot. Who's composed the best picture. Who's got the best angle. Does that make sense? So those are like kind of the level we're communicating at right now. And there's loads of other reasons anyway that will be here till tomorrow. But I also wanted to ask you a bit more, take it back to your work. How would you say that affects what you do? The fact that people are not really consuming a lot of information at the moment. Like people don't really read that much. But then the way you write, your writing style, especially for your poems, like they're really short. Is that something you've always had in mind, or did you just kind of have to adapt to the time?
I think I definitely adapted to it. It's not. I used to write really long pieces of poetry before. I started publishing my poems on Facebook around 2009, maybe.
Yeah.
The response was really low.
Oh, okay.
No one cared. No one gave a fuck.
About
no one cared.
About just writing.
Yeah, I would get readers, but the interaction with the pieces wasn't that much.
Okay.
And I would ask myself why for forever? Why are they not getting it? Or connecting with it?
Got like a funny video to watch.
Basically, and I look at my cousin's thing and he just posted something silly, in my opinion, or whatever, or not really that deep or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's got 150 something likes. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? So I studied that pattern for a long time, and what I took out of it was people ain't got time for long, deep stuff. And it's like, it's not that deep kind of thing. Like people don't want to task their minds anymore. That's what I took from it.
Yeah.
They don't want to go deeper into a thing. If it's something that's on the surface that makes them laugh now and they don't have to think about too tough, that's fine. That gets a thumbs up kind of thing. But anything else too deep or too long, they weren't really interested
in it. And so then you decided it was better to adapt, because like, a lot of I was looking at your work on Medium, which is the platform where a lot of writers put their work, publish it, and I saw like some of the pieces would say 1 minute read, 2 minute read, and consciously I was looking at those and I was thinking, obviously there's a reason for that, right? And then you also got the longer pieces, because of course, like not everyone's not reading.
Yeah, not everyone.
Not some people will still read, and
in fact, you do have a lot of people.
You do have a lot of people who still read, but it's just, I think it's just that kind of whole idea of like we're moving away from that element. There's audiobooks right now.
Exactly.
Is that something you've looked at for? The poets use that. I mean, do you know any? Or is it more for like kind of like authors, like if that makes sense?
I'm not a big fan of audiobooks myself. I like to read a book. I like to hold a book and feel it.
You have that,
to
have that connection with it.
When I've tried the audiobooks, they've helped, but I don't really connect with it like that personally.
Yeah.
I find that a lot of people do though.
Okay.
A lot of people out there, they love the audiobooks. They rather just fling it on in their car and go for a drive and listen and absorb that way. But with the shortness of the writing, it's just, I realised all these platforms that I'm using, especially the one you just mentioned, Medium. It worked out well. I started to notice that people don't really have that much time to spare. If they're going through Instagram 1 second, and then 2 seconds after that they switch their screen to Snapchat. You wanna grab them while you can. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And
you don't wanna keep them for too long. So
you gotta grab them and let them go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a way. So it's not that writing is dead or text is dead. It's just you have to present text in a more visual way. In a more attractive way. In a way that doesn't make them feel that they have to give so much of their time to this right here, right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
In a way,
so
I write.
Subtle. You have to do it in a subtle way, which I kind of mentioned. A lot of your writing, in my opinion, anyway, they're quite subtle, and also you use a lot of imagery as well. So I was gonna ask, where do you get those pictures from? Do you have like a certain website you go to, or do you just kind of have like a backlog of like, I don't know. I don't even know what the image profile for Instagram is, or for these mediums, but do you get what I mean in terms of like the square? Have you got like just loads of square pictures that you're just ready to just throw words onto? No. So do you just find them on the day, or?
Yeah, I find them when I write. When I write something, I start with I have a theme in mind, or a message I'm trying to.
Actually, sorry, 1 by 1, 1,000 by 1,000. But go on.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, just put it out here.
It's just like after I finish writing, and I've got the theme, and I've got the feel for what the poem is actually giving off, then I search for the image, and I use 3 main sites to do that. Tumblr, Flickr, and Pinterest.
Okay.
And I just put in the theme in the search, and I go through and see whatever images works or gives me the feeling that that's what I'm after.
But then you use it.
Yeah, but I was an editor for a beauty imagery blog for like 3 years.
Okay.
So that possibly helps with the kind of visuals that I like to use as well.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So writing's not dead.
Definitely far from it.
Far from it.
You just have to present it in a glamorous way.
Yeah, so in a way that people can still connect with.
Yeah,
but then
capture the attention with it, like typography. Great stuff. When we walked in, the writing on the wall there, amazing. That is captivating. It makes me want to read it. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Kind of the text, the font.
The font.
The
everything.
The layout, the way it kind of like
how it looks.
The way it looks.
My poems as well. It's like if I have to define them, give a definition to my poems. It's photography and words.
Yeah, I'll agree. I mean, yeah,
those
two. Yeah, those you're bringing those two creative entities together. Yeah.
It's not just photography and words. It's photography in words. Like literally, the way when you see one of my images, how it's all set together. It's done on purpose for it to look a certain way. The way the words
go into it.
No, the actual visual of the lines.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The visual of the lines, the way
it looks. Pop on Instagram, have a look. So, like an example, the Alt New Beginnings, right?
Just the way it looks, the setting. You know the pattern that the shape it gives off.
Yeah.
They all have their shapes.
That's true.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, ooh, this one here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work in that. This one here looks like a pyramid or ship in a way, or the sail of a ship.
Right.
It's photography and words. It makes you want to read it. And
I get it. That looks like, you know, when you're sailing or whatever.
Yeah.
The way the
actual sail.
The sail. Yeah. That looks like that.
Right.
Literally. And obviously it's linked to water as well and colours. So a lot of people would not see that unless you kind of you go really intricate into it. Because I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But So I'm gonna just get you to maybe tell me a bit more about this, poem whilst we're at it as well. So I'll let you go through it. So it says, tears draped in watercolors adorn your eye cheek zone like chiseled works of broken art. What does that mean? I'll probably have to
tears draped in watercolors adorn your high cheek zone like chiseled works of broken art. Instantly already, I'm sure that's painted some sort of visual in your mind.
Yeah. Tears draped in watercolors. Yeah.
It's obviously sad in a way.
I would just picture someone with makeup.
Yeah, you could take that because it's obviously someone crying.
Someone's crying, yeah.
Watercolors, tear. The color of a tear is like the color of water.
Yeah.
Watercolors.
Watercolors, yeah.
So high cheek zone, like they adorn your high cheek zone. They're over.
Yeah.
They're falling right beside the high cheek zone.
Yeah.
Like chiseled works of broken art. Like your high cheek zone is
kind of like it's a definition. It is really because it's really interesting. But so how did you what inspired that writing, for example? Like what kind of space were you in when you kind of wrote that?
Right, it's actually an excerpt. That's not the full poem.
Oh right.
The full poem is called Death Can Pass Over.
An excerpt from a poem about love, relationships. Oh right, so Death Can Pass Over. That. So what inspired Death Can Pass Over? As a writer, if you remember, because you write.
Yeah,
a lot. So,
I do.
Yeah.
That was recent. I lost a few people close to me this year already.
Okay.
A cousin, as well as my best friend's mother. So there was a lot of deaths at the start of the year.
Okay.
And while I was going through that, it's just made me think, like, you can either succumb to like the pains and anger or sorrow of death that death brings, or you can embrace it as just part of life, and it's what has to happen, and it does happen. Unfortunately, sometimes it happens in unfortunate ways.
Yeah.
But it's still something that is part of life, and it happens. So it's like death can pass over, can carry on.
Yeah.
And life goes on, and you make the best of it while you still got life, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's had to do with death, or death of relationship, could be a loss of anything. Of a job or whatever. It's a death. And you're parting ways with something. But you can still see the beauty
in it. And I love the way you wrote like chiseled works of broken art. Do you get what I mean? It's there's so many entendres in there, if that makes sense.
Because it's broken.
Because it's broken, but then it's like the chiseled part is a beauty, isn't it? It's a work of art, so it's really interesting. So anyway, I'm definitely gonna read that, and I'm gonna try and put a link for people to check that one out, because I feel like a lot of people are grieving and stuff, and I feel like sometimes as well I don't think people talk about grief enough, if that makes sense.
True.
I don't know if
they just get on with it.
Yeah, people just get on with it. Whereby this is like a great avenue to kind of encourage people to be like, actually, you can still celebrate life. So my next question is, whilst we're on your pieces, let's talk about See Me, See You, which is an important piece that you wrote, in my opinion, because I read it on Medium yesterday night. And I love how you rounded it up with Mama Said, which is like a really cultural thing.
Yeah.
Mama said this, Mama said that.
Yeah.
It's kind of even linked to Forrest Gump, that's a culture. Have you seen Forrest Gump?
Yeah, the movie.
Yeah. So my mom always said that before you did anything or whatever. Can you elaborate on that piece?
Well, obviously, what I was saying with the mama's part is, be careful who you point fingers at, right?
Yeah.
And it's literally what my mom used to say, because don't point fingers at people, because when you do point fingers, you forget that you've got 3 fingers pointing right back at you, meaning watch yourself. And I was reading something recently where it says how the things you say about other people kind of shows a lot more. It says a lot more about you and how you feel about yourself, as opposed to the person you're actually talking about. And that's where that comes from. So looking at words like savages, barbarian, terrorist, I find that the people who label people with these words might not be taking a closer look home, because if we look out there, it seems like the terrorists are the people who are screaming the most about terrorism.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm plugged into that. Yeah. And I read that piece, and it spoke about terrorism and about barbarianism and about kind of the whole
slavery,
master, kind of like how they're praying to God, we're just God-fearing masters. Do you get what I mean? It's so deep. Like it really captivated me, kind of reading it. I just love the bit about Mama Said, because I don't know why, but yeah, maybe because
it's just like I was trying to bring, don't forget your lessons, like you were taught growing up. You know what I mean? The things that are closer to your heart.
Yeah.
The things our parents instilled in us, the values, our morals, and things like that. I think looking around today's world, the music scene, there's no morals are a bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's going. Values, neither here or there. You question people's intentions and integrity. How much dignity do they have for themselves as well? Things like that. So remembering mom kind of brings it back, takes you back home, and makes you, that feeling of being more grounded.
Yeah, because that's one person. A lot of people have to ground them. Of course, some people didn't know their parents, or maybe part of adoption and stuff. But in the bigger landscape of things, a mom is. That's why we have Mother's Day, because that's such a big thing. Our moms are usually play like a big and active role in they shape us in a way.
Of course.
With the values and where we take a lot of our core beliefs from as well. Our family is really influential in that part. You mentioned obviously your parents, what they were interested in you studying was maybe different to what you would do now. Like, can you speak a little bit about that? Can you just?
Yeah, sure. It's
if you don't mind.
Parents are obviously very influential, on the decisions that their children make. They have a huge hand in helping shape those decisions, I'd say. Coming from an African background as well, Nigerian African background, education is very, very important, taken a bit too seriously sometimes.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, it's still part of the process. you have to go through, as an African child, you have to study something. It's drummed into you from a young age that you're most likely going to go to university, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't agree with, influencing a child to study what a parent wants them to study. Does that make sense? But parents have different motives for doing that. Their parents are usually, they're from a different time. They have a different upbringing, a different mindset. So I don't know my mother's reasoning behind wanting me to study architecture, and engineering, but that's what she wanted me to go. And back then, to please my mother, everything, I'd do it, But knowing what I know now, no, I wouldn't. I would go for what I wanted to study, which, like I said, would be English literature or art and history. I would fully go for that, because not only do you save a lot of time, you make yourself more happy in the end, because you are doing
something
that you want to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course, yeah. I agree, yeah. And what would you advise, and it's a big question to ask anyone really, someone does say, what would you tell kids to do right now? Don't listen to your mom, do what you want. No, but I guess, what would you, in your experience, right, if you had like a younger person that looks up to you and they were at that junction where they wanted to decide what to do, my parents wanted to do this, but this is what I actually kind of enjoy, or this is the direction I want to go to, what would you advise them? What would you say? How would you say, to proceed?
Well, something I learned about 7 years ago now, was rather than telling people stuff, show them. Don't tell people, show them.
Okay.
So rather than telling your parents that this is what I want to study, you have no right or say in it, I'm going to do what I want, show them why it makes sense for you to study what you want to study. Show them why you're going to succeed in it. Show them.
So give them evidence.
Yes.
Tangible proofs, like,
Exactly, like
show them like a roadmap.
Exactly.
Yeah, show them a map. Give them a roadmap.
This is what's happening in this industry.
Yeah.
This is the lane I'm choosing. This is where I wanna. Fit in. I found my niche in this particular area. This is how I'm gonna attack the market. It's like a business plan. You can't. It's like
you can't. Yeah, you got. Yeah, because in anything anyway, you got to pitch it to them as much as if you're going for a job interview, you would have to show and tell what you're bringing to the role. Yeah. So okay, that's cool. We're pressed for time, so I'm gonna just go forward now. I'm gonna ask you something about so we spoke obviously about kind of like smartphones. I'm gonna ask you, so how long do you think you could go without a phone?
Me, I'm itching right now. My phone's charging back there.
So you can't wait to get that fixed.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's weird, but we're all, victims of that right now, I think.
So how long do you think you could go without it? So if you, for example, I'll give you a bit of my story, something that happened a few weeks ago. So, my mom and I, we were kind of, so on our way to work, right? We leave out together. So we leave home together. So she's got a home route or whatever, but our route kind of, same route before I didn't have to get a train. So she was, driving to work, and obviously sometimes I'll tag along, sometimes I drive myself, whatever. So this day I tagged along, got into a car, whatever, got to the station and I forgot my phone in that car, right? So she drove on and then clocked, like when I got out of the car, the phone had dropped, so I left it or whatever. So she turned around, tried to come and find me at the station because she knows I'm important my phone is, obviously. But I jumped on a train, and there was no other way for me to kind of
reach you.
Yeah, for her to reach me because I don't have any phone on me. My phone is in the car, and I had to spend that all day, obviously, without the phone. Because when I got to work, I had no number off my head or whatever. So I called her and said, "Oh, yeah, I've left my phone in the car, whatever." She actually played a prank and said, "No, you didn't." initially. Then I was like, plot twist. So where is my phone? Because in my head I was thinking, yeah, when I get to work I'm gonna call her and say, yeah, you got my phone, I'll get it when I get back or whatever. But she was like, actually no, you don't leave your phone in my car. So I was like, what? What's going on? Where did I leave my phone? And she's like, no, yeah, I'm joking, whatever. Yeah, I've got it. I came back to the station actually, and you'd already left. So I was like, yeah, because I got on the platform and my train came. I'm saying all that to say I spent the whole day without my phone, right? And that was really interesting to me because it's not often we have to, like, you know, that life or kind of like situation just kind of determines, or faith determines, like, you know, the outcome of our day, if that makes sense. And obviously my phone is important to everything I do. You know, I need to communicate, I need to, you know, I've got emails or whatever. We all got stuff we're doing with our phone anyway. But I had to spend the whole day without the phone, and that was interesting to me because it allowed me to focus on other things and it allowed me to think a lot more than I would have, if that makes sense. So could you go, or I don't know, like give you a scenario, could you go like 2-3 days without your phone right now? Something's happened, you don't have a phone for 2-3 days. Well, you know,
I mean, if you have no choice, you have no choice, innit? If you have no control in the matter.
Of writing.
Yeah, I do a lot of writing and photography on my phone. A lot of the stuff you read were written on my phone, straight on the phone, published right there. So I need my phone most of the time. But can I go without it? And for how long? Of course I can go without my phone. I think everyone can go without their phone. If it comes to it, really. Does it help to switch off sometimes and just be in a different headspace? Yes, I'll say definitely. You know, but how often do we do that? That's the question.
That's the question, yeah.
But yeah, I can go without my phone.
Yeah. How long? Like 2 days before you feel like I really actually that's
if
kind of subjective.
If there was a point to the task of being without my phone, or challenge, should I say, of being without my phone. If there was a point to it, then yeah, I can see it through as long as there's a point.
There's a point to it.
You know, go to France for 2 days without your phone and clear your head and see what you come up with, what new concepts and ideas for your writing you come up with. Okay, in that sense, being without my phone for 2 days won't be that bad because there's a purpose
to it. Yeah.
You know?
Okay. And I'm going to ask another fun question. So, what would be your chosen, you know, means of communication if you could go back in time? You know, so we're not talking no Nokia, no smartphone, none of that, right? We're looking at back in time. Like, let's say 200 years ago. How would you communicate? Letters. Yeah.
I love that whole period where you had to write a letter, especially in situations to do with romance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Writing a letter and waiting for it. You know, writing the letter first and foremost. It's like you have to put yourself and your mind in a certain frame, you know, to write and actually get out all the emotions that you're feeling at the time. Yeah. And then waiting for the reply. Yeah. Was also an experience.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, isn't it? Because also your circumstance could have changed by the time that the reply comes.
Yeah.
Because it was such slow means of communication.
Yeah, it could be a month.
It could be a month before, before you can get a reply. But
yeah.
I guess the anticipation would be something.
I think that's brilliant. You know, I think that was half the joy of it.
Yeah.
You know, just what could she be writing back? What is she thinking when she's reading my words?
Yeah.
First and foremost.
Yeah.
You know, how does it make her feel?
We were talking about letters. So what were you saying?
Yeah. The writing, sending the letter, waiting. The emotions with it, you know, and waiting to receive a response.
So that's what you would choose, yeah.
That's what I choose.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. That's it there. That's cool. That's dope. I mean, I wish we could go back to that, but obviously, probably not. We can't. It's too late.
You can still write letters. You can still send a letter to your loved one.
Yes, that's true.
Just for the fun of doing it.
For the fun of doing it, yeah. Because that's actually true. Do you get what I mean? Because obviously, on WhatsApp or whatever, iMessage, yeah, we all communicate. But that whole premise of like writing letters to each other, I think that's like
even the handwriting.
Even the handwriting.
You know what I mean? I think you can tell someone's personality through their handwriting. I don't know. I have that belief that you can have. It's not maybe not their whole personality,
but like a part of them.
Yeah,
can be
seen, and it's like peering, having a view into their world through the way they write. Yeah, and the words they use.
We're talking deep stuff now. You know, like people are gonna be like, really? Yeah. Well, yeah, for real. If there's one thing you could change about this current climate, what would you change? What would it be?
What kind of climate? What, in the weather?
No, not climate as that. No. Yeah, I should rephrase that. No, about society, about the culture. You know, subcultures. We spoke about
anything.
We spoke about music. You know, earlier, and you know, we were talking about. You know, the people really make like love music anymore. Do they make like heartfelt music anymore? Is there anything, if you could change one thing along those lines of what the things we spoke about today, what would you change? Because there's always room to improve. I would say I just wish people were a lot more mindful nowadays. You know, someone said to me the other day that we're in the era of the dumb nigger, and that's what all the music being made that's who it's for right now. People who can't think, don't need to think too much, so they say the most nonsense on their records. And so if I could change anything right now, one thing, I would just ask for people to be a bit more mindful. Okay, yeah. Mindfulness is important. It governs everything.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, if we're mindful enough, you know, I think a lot of things
empathize
with people a lot more,
and that's missing today, a lot, you know. Yeah. A lot of people are angry as well out here. A lot of youth are angry because they feel disenfranchised. You know, they feel disconnected, cut out of society or main society. You know. So it's vicious out there at the moment, and a lot of people they're not really thinking. They're just doing whatever they want to do. You know.
For real, yeah. So, and I agree with what you just said, but I'm gonna, for the sake of time, I'm also gonna ask you, how important is sound, you know, to your creative process? You know, music and sound.
Oh, that's a brilliant question, because, like I mentioned before, I also write songs.
Yeah.
So, and I'm in the studio a lot of the time. I've done quite a lot of recording musically. So, music is very important to me. I love music.
I guess you're more specific about what you do, you know, for your own creative space. Like, you know, are you specific about what you listen to? Is there anyone you listen to right now? So you'd be like, that's my go-to playlist.
Right now, I'm crazy about Scissor.
Okay.
I just got made aware about this new guy called Brent Fires.
I've heard of him.
And I'm really into him. I love Frank Ocean. No homo.
Or, you know, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, you gotta put it out there.
But yeah, I love his music.
Yeah,
I think he's a genius. I think he's a genius at what it does. What else am I into at the moment? James Blake. I like James Blake.
The colour and everything is that dude. Yeah, he's
amazing,
good.
Amazing, really talented.
I listen to that when I need to sleep.
Sampha.
Sampha's meant to be.
Sampha is really.
There's this other guy called Slack.
Not heard of him.
He's written. There's an article called Slack. There's another one. Something Caesar. Daniel Caesar. A lot of people are listening to him right now. He's quite big. But yeah, I can see there's a pattern to the artists you mentioned.
Yeah. So that's where my headspace
is right now. Yeah. Okay. Well, I also wanted to ask you what the future holds for you. You know, as a writer, you know, and you know, I'm gonna take it back to the start when I said I'm gonna ask you something later on. You might have forgotten that I said that. I'm gonna now ask you about that now. In terms of obviously, where do you see your writing, you know, kind of pushing you towards, or you know, I did mention along that line, and I remember coming here on my way to have a sit, you know, for us to to talk, and I was thinking, I wonder if you know he's got any ideas of maybe being like a screenplay, you know, writer. Is that something you would do?
Yeah, I would love that. That's where.
Because that's something I can see myself doing in the future.
Yeah.
That's something I'm trying to work towards, like to write, you know, short documentaries and to write screenplay and stuff.
Okay, yeah. That's definitely where I'm heading towards next, like script writing.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, if you're a writer, you can write anything. From songs to movies to, you know, theatre plays.
Yeah.
And like, so, first and foremost, what does the future hold? I want to get, like I said, I want to get the book published.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, I'm in the process of writing my second book right now.
Yeah.
And I still haven't published the first one, so I want to get that published. And doing something radical with poetry and writing, which is like the gallery stuff. I want to bring poetry into galleries, combine it with art and photography. You know what I mean? And yeah, so I would love to have an exhibition, you know, in a gallery somewhere with my words on the wall, with the work of other creatives, artists and photographers alike.
You know, kind of like adjacent to each other, or kind of joint, or combine.
Yeah, like
whatever.
Create a project around
project,
it, you know, that each poem is depicted by an image, or a poem is telling a story for an image of an artist. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah. That's interesting, because just you mentioning that, you know, having that kind of collaborative mindset, I've kind of just prompted some of the work and pieces. I've had someone working with me, you know, designing something right now.
Okay.
And initially I was going to use it, the kind of the material for something else, but I might use it in an exhibition style thing. Yeah. And I think having poetry to go with them might be something. So
another avenue
to explore, you know, for us to continue this dialogue. So I'm gonna round up by asking you, you know, this one question, which is, you know, this age that we're in is important. And I remember having a conversation with someone 2 years ago at a birthday party, and that conversation stayed with me till now. And we were talking about this is the age that people are probably gonna remember the most in the future. Like, this current climate is gonna shape so much things. This is the age where people are gonna look back on and be like, wow, how many things were discovered, like, you know, the age of internet, the age of smartphones, the age of, you know, I don't know, AI, you know, the age of, you know, like, just so many discoveries, you know, maybe we might discover a cure for cancer in this age. So tell me one thing from your perspective, what do you like about this age, about this current time we're in?
Ease of access to certain industries. I feel that a lot of barriers to entry to a lot of industries have been broken or brought down drastically.
Yeah.
And I like that. It's easier to get into an industry now. It's more easier now than it's ever been. Does that make sense?
To get access.
To get access and to just do your thing.
Yeah.
You know, you want to be a musician, you don't have to, you know, jump through record label hoops so much. You want to be a fashion designer. There's you know, avenues for you to get your stuff out there, you know. And I think the barriers are coming down more and more as the days go by. You know, I really like that, and it's making things more accessible to people.
Yeah, ease of access. I think that's an important one. That's what the way you've kind of, you know, the word itself, you know, the three words, and then how you kind of explained and kind of, you know, used that in multiple, you know, avenues as to how people can get access now. And, you know, sometimes I feel, I guess maybe we might have do you have too much access? Do you get what I mean?
Oh no, there can never be too much access.
Not necessarily in the way you said it, but are we exposed to too much information? Because information, we're getting access, we're accessing the information. We spoke about it earlier, right? Information overload, so which is affecting attention span. So ease of access, but the way you said it in terms of people getting access to put out their work and avenues to kind of be creative, that's a positive thing.
Yeah.
But obviously for me, and one of the premises of me starting Layers was to look at the other side of that, of access.
Well,
do you get what I mean?
like anything, there's always a plus side and a negative side.
Yeah, as long as
with most things.
Yeah.
So the ease of access, you can access most things on the internet nowadays in our Western world anyway.
Yeah.
But I meant more in terms of, getting into industry. And the traditional barriers of entry. Say for example, like having a media company set up, say 20, 25 years ago, even 30 years ago, it would be a lot more difficult back then than how it is now to set up a media company.
Yeah.
This is a media company for where we're sitting in a way, but I don't think it would have been so easy to get in like that, to make it happen like that 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm really happy about.
Okay. Yeah. No, I agree with that. Yeah. It's an interesting time. It's an interesting time we're in. But we keep going. Thank you for sitting with me. This is the longest one.
Really?
I think this is the longest one.
It's my first.
And breathe.
Yeah.
This is the longest one, but it was really good. Thank you for joining me. How can people find you? And then you wrap up, and then hopefully we're probably gonna have another sit down anyway. Well, so how can people find your work?
You can find my work most of my work writing is on Medium. My name is Efe, spelled E-F-E. My last name is Nakpodia, spelled Nakpodia. And you can also find my work on Instagram.
We'll put links anyway, so we'll put links
the writer. Spelled Thewryter. Okay,
cool. Thank you, man. Thank you for sitting down.
Thank you.
It's important for us to continue this conversation. We have to carry on. Okay. Until next time. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. It's going to be available on Layers, podcast, which is available on SoundCloud, also on iTunes as well, iTunes podcast. It's also going to be available on the Drummer Boy website, so make sure you guys check that out. There's going to be loads of content coming. Also going to be available on YouTube. Both platforms, both the Drummer Boy and the Layers YouTube page. Possibly you should be able to access this information. So as always, get back in touch with me with your feedbacks, give your thoughts and opinion on the conversation we just had, because it's important for us to continue to push these conversations out, for us to continue to conversate and just talk about about the current time that we're in. So until next time, take it easy.